also leads you to kind of like a utilitarian type of argument too. Do the needs of the few outweigh the many?
You will never amount to anything. We shall see.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Zen here from Zen Multiverse, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. So, my son and I, we just finished watching The Eternals. Now, let me say, there's a couple things. I'm going to do a whole spoiler um, plot analysis and review for this movie and just what I thought about it overall. Now, there seems to be people who say they either love it or they hate it, right? I'm in the I love it type of movie, right? And here's the reason why. I'm going to break down each part into different themes. First, I'm going to talk about the aesthetics of the movie. Aesthetics for the movie, in terms of scenery, is really good. Um, just the different parts of the world that they utilized for this movie, the cityscapes, everything of that nature seemed to be really well done, right? Couldn't really see it done any better, right? My gripes, right, for aesthetics comes in the form of the CGI for the deviants themselves. Now, the deviants are what would be portrayed as the bad guys, right? The reason why I'm putting quotes on that is, and I'll explain later on when it comes to the plot. But everything else, like you see in this little clip right here, everything looks beautiful. Presentation, the colors looks great and amazing. But the CGI in terms of the deviants seems to be misplaced at times, right? And this could come in the form of the shadowing for the actual characters for the deviants that don't really mesh too well when they're standing or fighting against humanoid-based characters, right? Or human characters that we see in the form of the actors themselves, right? That's probably one of my only gripes for the movies. Are there more? There's some more that I probably will touch on later on. In terms of the acting for the characters are pretty, I would say they're well versed, right? For the amount of characters who are in the movie, I think every single character gets just enough screenplay where it doesn't feel overwhelming or too convoluted. But the acting in itself, they were given the script, they utilized it really well, and I could see a lot of the actors' personality just being themselves in this movie. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I watched them in other movies and I watched some of their interviews, and they seem to be just playing themselves, technically, right? Which is kind of the beauty about acting when you're able to play yourself in a movie, but you're just given a script and you immerse yourself into what the plot may be. Now let's go into the plot itself. The plot itself is, or the main baseline plot is, the Eternals are godlike figures who come to the planet in order to defeat the deviants, right? Basically to preserve population, human population, so that they can advance and flourish, right? And once their mission is done, they're able to go back. Now, this is later. We later find out that this is not actually the full entirety of the mission, which I'll speak about a little bit later. So in terms of the movie itself, the movie is a couple things. It is a history lesson, right, about the universe, right, the Eternals, even the Celestials, right. It is a philosophical movie because you come to a point of the movie where you're like, well, is there actually a bad guy in this movie, right? And is it a means to an end, right? Will the will the few outweigh the many, right? The means of saving the few, will it save the many? And if you save the many, you don't get a chance to save the few. And I'm going to speak about that later when we come to the true plot of the movie itself, right? In terms of now, the last point that I'm going to get into before I get into the plot of the movie is the end credit scenes were phenomenal, right? They lead you to understand the future, and also there's another one, right, that allows you, and this is the mid credit scene or the pre credit scene, where allows you to bridge older movie concepts, right, when it comes to Thanos and the snap, right, and themes of the planet that he lived on, Titan, and also the future of the MCU when it comes to the Eternals themselves. Now, here we go. Now, let's get into the plot and why I really love this movie. Now, the plot, like I mentioned earlier, is about the Eternals coming to Earth, right? And basically saving everyone from the deviants so that humans can flourish. That is not their true mission. Now, in this movie, we have a celestial. A celestial is an astronomical, powerful being that gives way to the birth of galaxies and the birth of brand new planets. That's crazy in itself, right? We literally see pieces of this in our history lesson throughout the movie. Erisham the judge is literally, as it sounds, he is the judge, but he is also the person who creates the Eternals and sends them to the planet Earth. Okay, is that the only planet that Eternals have gone to? No, they haven't, right? And we know about this because they're given, I guess, false memories, right, of a place called Olympia. Now, Olympia, we know in we know about Olympia through mythology, right? Olympia, Hercules, and all of them. They believe themselves to come from a place called Olympia. This is later to be revealed that there is no Olympia. That the Eternals are actually artificial intelligence, um, or synthetic or created beings, right? And they were created by the Eternals. Their purpose is to go to a planet that has a housing or sleeping celestial and to be the antithesis to the deviants. Now, the deviants were also created by the celestials to go to planets as the apex predators to defeat the predators of that planet so that the the I would say the intelligent species can thrive, right? In this case, it would be humans, right? Now, what happens is they became the, we could think about it that the apex predators became the apex predators, right? And just wanted to take over, right? This was this was an error in terms of the Celestials because they needed the intelligent population to thrive so that the sleeping celestial can then emerge, right? It could take on the essence of the planet. And essentially, when I say take on the essence of the planet, it it gives birth, right? Think about the planet as like an egg and the celestial inside of it. And what happens when a chick comes out of an egg? The egg cracks, right? And essentially that's it for the egg. So that's what would happen with the planet Earth. Now, many of the Eternals did not know this. Two did know this, right? Um, the leader of the Eternals knew, right? Who they call the mother, basically, and also Icarus knew later on, right? This concept about him learning the true mission drove him mad because he wasn't allowed to tell anyone, and not even the love interest that he has on the Eternals team, which is played by Gemma Chan right here. Now, later on, what happens is because this drives Icarus mad, he then kills the head Eternal, right? Because he's just like, you can't, because she wanted to stop it. She wanted to stop the emergence from happening. But Icarus is doing what he was told to do, right? He's doing the mission. He cannot defy Erisham the judge, right? Um, or his main command. But her thing before she died was basically she's come to love these people on the planet. She's been with them for centuries. She's helped them progress in many different ways. That was her job, right? Her job was to help the population flourish, which is what it really was. It's just that there's a couple more elements to their mission, right? Now Icarus does aligns himself with the rest of the Eternals later on, without them knowing what originally happened, right, about the killing, right? Um, but what happens is we have a deviant, right, or a slew of deviants who've somehow re-emerged, right? They thought they killed all of them centuries ago, but apparently there's a couple more, and one of them, and this part is not truly explained, or maybe I missed it. This one has the ability to take on the powers of other Eternals. And it seems that that Alpha Deviant didn't really know he could do that until he did. And once he did, he evolves each time, right? Where towards the end of the movie, he gets to the point where he could talk and have interactions with the Eternals themselves. And he gives his own philosophy about everything that's going on, right? Because he thinks things are very hypocritical, which I agree as well. Now, as they progress through the movie, they learn about Icarus's faults, right? And they decide to basically have some sort of civil war where they go against Icarus, right? And Icarus is like, I had to do this, and he feels hurt. He really does feel hurt. It's not in a sadistic type of way. He feels hurt because he needed to do what he was told to do, and he felt like if he let the head celestial at the time, if he let her do this, then it would go against everything that they were told they were supposed to do, right? But why this sounds sad is because everyone on the planet would die if Tiamat, who is the sleeping celestial, emerges, right? But here's the thing about it. Here's the philosophical part. If Tiamat does emerge, the planet does die, not because he's trying to kill the planet, but the planet does die. But then essentially what happens next is if Tiamat emerges, he's able to create new galaxies, new solar systems, new planets, and everything of that nature, which will then propel a lot of civilizations for eons to come, right? They delayed that process. And in their delay of that process, they utilize the abilities of Gemma-chan, who plays one of the Eternals, whose power is transmutation. She has the power over matter to change matter into any other form of matter that she wills it to be. And upon the emergence itself, she tries to turn him into stone, right? As he's emerging, right? She is successful through the process of something called the Unimind. Unimind is basically when all of the Eternals link or sync together and empower one of the Eternals to be even more powerful than they were before. There's a theory about this though, because originally they had the Eternals who wanted to stop the emergence were already going to plan on doing something using the form of technology to do it. But then they found out that it was going to happen anyway. So then the question begs, if that was already going to happen, did Tiamat allow this to happen, right? The sleeping celestial. This is the part that gets a little bit far-fetched because it makes it sound like Tiamat basically sacrificed himself knowing that this would happen in some type of way. Again, now here's the part that I love the most, and it leads into the philosophical argument that they all have. Number one, the deviants, that alpha deviant comes and he says, who are you all to basically portray yourself as the good guys, the gods, right? And to destroy us deviants when we're just trying to protect ourselves. And they are. They were designed by the celestials themselves to go onto the planet to be the apex predators to the predators so that the intelligent life can flourish. But they ended up wanting to be the apex predators of everything, right? But they're just trying to live too. So that argument is correct, right? What makes them the bad guys? Because the humans are dying? Well, it's like eat or be eaten type of thing. You know what I mean? And then the other argument now comes in the form of kind of two paths, right? When it comes to the Eternals. Icarus's argument is that we have to follow Erisham the Judge. He gave us a mission, we have to follow it. And if we follow this, then Tiamat will emerge and he'll be the creator for many lives to come in the future, right? Galaxies, solar systems, populations. He will be the bringer, right, of life. Technically, right? That's what it is. He's life bringer. And now the other ones, because they lived on the planet for centuries, only centuries, they love these people on the planet. And because they love these people, they feel that they're destined for greatness. This is still unknown though, right? It's unknown if humans will ascend to the greatness that they're thinking of, right? Because they do, and here's the here's kind of the flaw here, right? They actually have sentimental connection or emotional connection to the humans of the planet, which stops them from pursuing Erisham the Judge's full mission. Is this wrong? We don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know. But one of the things that happens is now those are the two philosophies and those are the arguments too, but it also leaves you to kind of like a utilitarian type of argument too. Do the needs of the few outweigh the many, and do the needs of the many outweigh the few? Many would say, right, and this is kind of like a quick ending, is that the needs of the few do not weigh do not outweigh the many. So the planet Earth should go, so that our sleeping celestial Tiamat can be born, because he will create many. It is a fact that he will create a solar system, and planets will come from that, right? We've seen this in the synopsis, the prologue for the movie, when it comes to um, our understanding about the history of the Celestials themselves, right? But then because they're going based on faith, right, of the people of the planet, it is still an unknown variable, which is a pretty cool concept that Erish and the Judge um, basically kind of brings up towards the end of the movie. Now, at the end of the movie, they're successful. They stop Tiamat from their emergence, and thus they stop the planet from just basically being eradicated, right? But Arishan, he comes to the planet. It makes sense that he would come to the planet. We see him throughout the movie in a couple of times where Gemma Chan um, is speaking to him, and also the head celestial, the head eternal, right? I forgot her name. Gilgamesh, no, not Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a really strong one. I forgot her name, but basically they communicate with him, and all you see is this gigantic astronomical helmet of a head, right? But when we see him later on in the movie, he comes to the planet. And when I say he is astronomically uh, overwhelming, like I felt the pressure from his coming to the planet. He came to the planet, and all you see is this gigantic silhouette throughout the sky, right? Throughout the sky that goes beyond the solar system itself, because he's in space. And then he takes three of their Eternals and he judges them. Um, and he's when, if you're thinking about how big the planet is, he's way bigger than the planet. The way he's standing and he's holding his arm out, his hand is as big as the planet. He could hold the planet if he wanted to, but he's holding his hand out and basically telling the three, Gemma Chan and a couple others, he said, "You stop Tiamat from emerging to save the people of this planet. For that, I will assess your memories and decide if this was the right decision. If not, I will come back to the planet." Either or, he's coming back to the planet, right? He is Erisham the Judge. He's going to judge what happened and assess it, right? Because at the end of the day, they're scientists. They're scientists, but they're also astronomical entities that we can't really fathom and understand properly, right? Because we're thinking in human scale and human emotions and things of that nature, right? So we have to kind of get outside that. He wants to populate, right? And he knows in order to populate, a new celestial needs to be born. So he seeded that planet with Tiamat, who didn't get a chance to emerge. But it's pretty cool because he didn't just say you're dead. You know what? He didn't. One of my own kind didn't come. You're dead. No, he didn't do any of that. I'm going to assess what happened here and see if you made the right decision. He doesn't talk in any kind of tone because, again, that's human things, right? Overall, as you can hear, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed every piece of the movie. There are parts of the movie that I didn't explain in this review and plot breakdown, but it's okay. You could still watch the movie and still enjoy it. There's a couple of interactions between some of the Eternals, and some of them are funny and some of them are just like, oh man, they hate each other, right? But one of the coolest things, I would say my favorite Eternal, right, would definitely have to be Makari, who's the speedster. I loved her character because number one, she's a beautiful woman. Number two, she uses sign language throughout the movie that seems very natural and fluid and makes me want to learn sign language. Number three, she's a speedster, but they didn't go through the normal formula or trope for a speedster, where in order to see her speed, right, they slow down scenes. They didn't slow down anything for her. They were just showing pure speed throughout the whole entire movie, and they were able to capture it in a way where you just saw it. And I thought it was pretty phenomenal and diverse because it didn't follow the normal trope of a speedster. It was pretty cool. My second would have to be Icarus because he has a Superman formula, and they do mention it in the movie through this child, right? Who's basically like, "You're Superman, right? I saw you with a cape," and he's like, "I didn't have a cape. I don't wear a cape," but it's pretty cool. Um, and someone else, I think Athena. Athena is the goddess of war, right? As she's titled on Olympia. But again, we learned that there is no Olympia, that the Eternals were created by Arisham the Judge, and they actually come from a place called the World Forge, right? Which I wish we had more information. I'm probably going to go into the comic books and kind of get more information on what the World Forge is. But basically, it's where they're made. Now, a lot of people are going to get this confused when they see that. They see the movie, they're going to be like, they're not robots. Yes, they're not robots. Don't try not to think about technology in human terms, right? Remember, they're created through the Eternals, I mean the Celestials, and the the Celestials use, or Arisham the Judge use cosmic energy for his creations. So yes, they are synthetic, or they are artificial rather, because they weren't born right in the normal sense. But they definitely can bleed. They can lose energy in a normal sense. And we're getting to understanding that they probably can and possibly repopulate. The reason why we get this is because of the end credit scene. Towards the end credit scene, the first one, we get the introduction of a character named Pip Patrol. Pip Patrol's been in many movies, and I said many movies, many of the comic books, and he has allegiances with many characters, cosmic, um, I guess galactic-based superheroes, right? Like thinking about like Adam Warlock and them, and other characters of that nature. He was a big part of the Infinity War story, Infinity Gauntlet story in the comic books. But he's a funny little character, right? Now, when he comes through a portal towards the end of the movie, remember that I said that Erison the Judge took three of the Eternals away, right? The ones who seem to be making some of the main decisions towards the end of the movie. And then there are others that are there too, right? Makari and them, and thus forth. Now, in the ship, they were already leaving to go and possibly see where uh, the other Eternals went, or the World Forge itself. And Pip Patrol comes through a portal, and then he announces the introduction of a character, and his name is Eros. Eros is titled as the brother of I said Galactus, the brother of Thanos. Now he doesn't look like Thanos. He seems to have on armor like us, like an Eternal, and he has an orb that Gemma Chan used in the movie to communicate with Erisham the Judge. So it leads us to understand, um, because they introduce him as the Prince from Titan, and that means that either a couple things: Eros is eternal, right? And that there are many Eternals that have possibly defected in some type of way. Now, from the comic books, Thanos is an Eternal, and he has genetic DNA of a Deviant as well. So we're gonna see, is Thanos really the brother of Anos in the literal sense, right? In terms of chromosomes and things of that nature and DNA, or is he a brother in the sense of like Gamora is a daughter to Thanos, right? In that kind of sense, we'll see. We'll find out. Which is why I'm unsure about the whole, um, are Eternals able to have kids or not? We'll see. Um, but also leads us into some other things. Did Thanos know this whole entire time about the true mission of the Celestials? And the reason why he gather the Infinity Stones was to delay the emergencies from happening. Another theory, which is a quite plausible one, is that if the deviants are the apex predators, right, the antithesis to the Eternals, who is the antithesis to the Celestials? And I think I know who it is, if he does arise. And that would be Galactus himself. If Galactus is the antithesis to the Celestials, then that means that in future movies we probably will see the Silver Surfer, that he only goes to planets that is seeded with a celestial seed. Maybe. Anyway, that part is just theoretical, right? Um, let's go into the last part of the movie, which comes in the form of the end credit scene, where we see um, our friend um, Dan Whitman. I think it's Dan Whitman. Dan. Basically, Emma Chan's love interest, Dan Whitman, and he is opening a box, and the box has a sword in it. The sword is basically, I think it's the Twilight Sword. No, it's not the Twilight Sword. It's another sword that basically turns the person into the Black Knight, right? So we're gonna get that. We're gonna get the Black Knight, but before he touches it, we hear a voice, and the voice was confirmed to be Mahershala Ali, who is the actor who will play Blade in the future of the MCU, which is pretty amazing because the two characters did not have anything to do with the Eternals, in the sense of like these big things can happen, but it means that they're setting up. They're setting up for the future, and it's so amazing to see. It's a sight to behold. Again, did I enjoy this movie? Absolutely. Do I think it's one of the best MCU movies out there? It's unfair to say that because it's a different type of movie, just as much as Doctor Strange is different from the Winter Soldier, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You see what I mean? It's just different. I went into this movie thinking about it as a history lesson. When I came out, I realized that it was more than just a history lesson. It was a lesson. It was a societal type of philosophical lesson of a movie, right? That made me think. It made me think about the few outweighing the many, and the many outweighing the few. And because there's unknown variables about the few, can you really determine the fate of the many, and vice versa, right? Um, Again, my favorite character is Makari. Makari, the speedster, amazing, amazing of a character. My only one main gripe when it comes to this movie would definitely have to be the concept of, not the concept, the CGI. Um, and there's probably others, right? But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't think the movie was convoluted in terms of too many characters. I felt like every single character got enough screen time, just enough screen time for me to know each of the characters and their abilities, right? Which is pretty cool. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this review, rundown, and breakdown, and some of the spec, right, of the theories that I have, or other theories that were out there that I brought into this. And if you want to see me do, if you want to see me do, if you want to see me do other reviews, let me know in the comment section. Tell me what you thought about the Eternals. If you saw it, if you didn't like it, because I'm okay with that, right? Other people are gonna have differences. It's called opinions, right? Everything that I said is based on my humble opinion of the movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Me and my son, we enjoyed it, but I know there's people out there that didn't really like it. Um, but remember, don't compare this movie to Endgame. It is not a Avengers Endgame movie, right? It is not a Spider-Man movie. It's not a Doctor Strange movie. It's its own introduction to um, a concept, right, and plot design that will seed the future of the MCU, but will also bridge past plots together with brand new ones. With that being said, everyone, this is Zen from Zen Multiverse, saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you're enjoying the content, drop me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later for the next one. Later.